in our generation, to be in show business, to have a platform to speak was exclusive, and you don't have access. There are 3 networks and then later cable, and that's the only way you can do it.
And you needed talent. You needed to be qualified in some way to have a platform. Now you don't.
But that's what
this show is proof of that.
Yes, thank you. And you're on it. You're not even the permanent sidekick. So let's just get there. I called you last night.
Nice
You're
guy.
here.
Yeah.
Can't add more to the plaque. It says what it says. It doesn't say.
I wanted
but it was really for comedy.
On the back.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sure you did because
underneath.
You're not the greatest editor I've ever seen.
No, I'm not. More is more.
But I'm going to make the argument that 3 regional Emmys, while a huge accomplishment, especially in the Chicago metro area, you would say equate to 1 actual Emmy,
maybe.
And I would say maybe a daytime Emmy.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think
not a full prime time.
No, it's not.
First of all, they're smaller in scale.
It's like 7/8 scale.
That's
it's like
right.
cowboy scale.
That's right. But
for those of you at home that don't know what cowboy scale is, they built all the Western sets in Hollywood back in the day at 7/8 size, so that the little cowboy actors looked bigger.
Wow, I should have done that on Temptation Island. Mm-hmm. But then the guys on Temptation Island would look 7'4".
Right, because they're big and strapping.
Hey, everybody. It's your boy, Mark Wahlberg.
You're not good at starting these. You really aren't. There should be a, hi, I'm Mark Wahlberg. Welcome to my podcast. People are tuning in now thinking, what did I miss? It's just my perspective.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Wahlberg. Welcome to my podcast. Here's what you missed. My friend, Mark DeCarlo, is here making his plea, his case for being the full-time sidekick on this podcast.
I don't really have to make the plea, Mark.
Well, you don't for 2 reasons. 1, I've done 5 episodes. You're on 3 of them. 2, we have 30 subscribers. So, I mean, you can plea all you want, but you're begging for what?
There's more people parked on the street.
That's right. That's right. And this is street cleaning day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a busy, busy day and garbage day.
Let me do some hosting. Welcome to Bonfire Talks podcast. And
So that's 3 intros. The first one I was on, there were no intros. Now you've done 3. Pick a lane, man.
I have as many intros as you have regional Emmys. Not bitter about that at all.
No. Weren't you up for a daytime Emmy with the Mark Wahlberg show?
No, I wasn't up for a daytime Emmy for the Mark Wahlberg show. I was nominated for Antiques Roadshow, but only because they listed me on the show. I wasn't nominated. The show was nominated.
It's not the same, is it?
No, and I'm hanging in my wall, and I look at them and turn my head away every time I see the nomination.
Yeah. But you don't take it down.
It's not true. Of course not. Matter of fact, if I do any Zoom meeting, I move it into the background.
Mark, we can't see you past that certificate. What does it say?
I'm sorry, the one next to the personally signed letter from Dick Clark, or the note from Lisa Gibbons. Which,
remember the meeting that we had in Dick Clark's office?
When you told him how to do TV?
Yes! Dick. That was a great day.
Yeah.
Welcome to Bonfire Podcasts. I'm your sidekick, Mark DeCarlo, and here's your host, Mark L. Wahlberg.
Thanks, Mark. It is January.
It's 4 openings.
And now we're into this podcast thing, and I have my good friend, voice of Hugh Neutron from the Jimmy Neutron Show. You love him as, were you Shaq's manager in Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yes.
I've seen you in a million things. My good friend Mark DeCarlo is joining me again. And I want to talk about the podcast for a moment. Those of you who have subscribed, both of you have subscribed. I want to thank you both. I'll be stopping by both of your houses to thank you personally with a gift basket.
With a muffin basket.
Yes, exactly. Muffins for you. But here's the deal, man. So we're in it. It's going to drop you're going to wake up every Wednesday morning with a new Bonfire Talks podcast.
Is that a threat or a promise?
It's a threat. It's a threat. Whether you want to or not. When you wake up.
Don't open your computer!
Like the Y2K bug every Wednesday. Except this one will actually happen. So that's our goal. We're going to do an episode a week. I'm going to do an episode a week. Mark thinks he's going to do an episode a week. But he'll be here quite a bit.
For the good episodes.
And the idea here, you guys, is that I'm trying to find my way in this. And that's one of the things I want to talk to you about today. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find my way. My goal is to tell stories of my life, tell stories about what's going on, talk about what's going on in the world, and there'll always be some sort of takeaway similar to what we do on the bonfire on Temptation Island. I can barely say it without a smile because I have so much tea about this that I can't tell you. But anyway,
I can tell you
that
I know it all.
I want you to have. Thank you. I want you to have some takeaway, and I want to be able to have a conversation about that stuff. So that's my goal here, and I'm going to ask you to bear with me as I try to figure it out. And this is why I'm going to just jump off here because this is what I want to talk to you about because I've been having some feelings.
What a shock!
What a shock! You know. We are pretty opposite.
We are.
You have feelings, but they never affect you.
No, they do affect me. I'm my rational mind is more in control of my life. Your emotional mind is more in control of your life. I don't think any way is better or worse. We both make it work for us.
No, mine is much, much better, but much more painful.
Okay.
So
that was my rational mind saying, give that to him.
Thank you. I've been having some feelings. And you're maybe my only male friend that I feel comfortable talking about feelings with. Now I feel uncomfortable that I said that.
Yeah.
So here's the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have been in show business, this business we call show.
Since it was fun.
Since it was fun. And now we are literally 1 foot stuck in the ice of the ice age as everything changes. But here's what's come up for me with this podcast. We're two different people in this sense. If I do an episode of TV that I'm on, to me, watching it is torture, but I have to. You, on the other hand, can watch yourself.
Yeah.
And laugh at your own jokes because you can give yourself when it's good and you can give yourself when it's bad, and you're not as emotional about it.
Because it's work. It's,
It's so easy for you to say. It's not. It defines everything, and that's what I'm getting at.
But if you define yourself through your work, you're always going to be disappointed.
No shit. I get it. That's the point, right?
All right, so we're done?
We're done. Thank you for healing me. What I'm grappling with here is that in all my career, in our careers, we are asked to do things for other people. We're asked to host shows for other people. Mm-hmm. And you have an angle, and Jimmy Kimmel is like you in this sense, and I could share that story, in that, damn the torpedoes, I'm going to do what I know is funny, regardless of what the producers are thinking, and I'm going to do the content my way, and it's probably going to be great, even if I ruffle some feathers in the process. I have always been, what do you need? Let me serve your show. Let me serve your producers. Let me take a shit idea and do everything I can to host it into being better. And some have been successful and some haven't, but it's always been me as a host trying to please my boss as best I can, making choices of content.
That's what I do too. I just think my boss is the public.
Right. So that brings me to the feelings part. Here on this podcast, it dawns on me.
Can you do like a double fast watching of this part till when we're done with the feelings part? I'll go like this, and then
we get back to the comedy part. Yeah, okay. And I think that's something we should unpack. That if you do that in your relationship with Yenny,
tell Yenny Alvarez to.
Yeah. You're just nodding as she's feeling things.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is that the podcast, those who are good at podcasts are doing whatever they want to do. Mm-hmm. And that kind of messed me up, that this podcast is now me making a choice of what I'm going to talk about when I talk about it to you guys. And I sort of got up in the head about it. Like, it's the first time in my life where what I'm doing in the vein of work is nobody's choice but mine.
Well, I think that's the major difference in podcasts compared to other forms of mass entertainment. Scripted shows, live talk shows, all those shows are are serving whatever the format of the show is. And that's what you do as the host and the producers and the writers. Podcasts, by definition, and it seems like over time, attention spans are shorter and shorter and shorter. Podcasts are cutting against that grain where it's going to be Joe Rogan talking for 2 hours. So really all you have is, are you interesting or not?
Are you trying to help me with my feelings or make me feel absolutely worse about the entire thing? Like now I'm in a spiral of who would want to watch this ever.
Which ironically will make this a better podcast for you to totally break down. Do you see the double-edged sword there?
I got cut twice.
I think that is the for the people that love podcasts, that's why they love them. When I go on cartoon podcasts and things, people ask you all these goofy, crazy questions. You know, like in episode 17 when Hugh Neutron said this, and like I don't remember. It was 2 seconds of my life, and people fixate on that kind of stuff, and they want to hear what happens. You know, right? If I had a chance to sit down and talk to Groucho Marx or Johnny Carson again, I did meet him once. Those are the kind of questions I would ask them. People are interested in that stuff. And if you're an interesting person, which you are, that's that makes or breaks your podcast. Okay. And what you choose, the topics you choose to discuss. So really you're hanging it out there.
What I'm talking about.
You can't hide behind a format is what I'm saying.
Right. But so what you're talking about is content, and you're right. But what I'm talking about is how I feel about it, which is something
Who gives a fuck how you feel about it?
I give a fuck.
Well, if you don't like it, don't do it.
Mark, I'm going to introduce you.
Wow, that was it. Podcast over, everybody.
Now, I'm going to introduce you to a word you might want to consider. Nuance, colors, other than on, off, right or wrong. I think the last time we talked about you and Yenny on travel going, if she just did it my way, she would have a better travel experience.
True.
So if there's a takeaway, in what areas do you feel like I feel where you're racked a little bit with self-doubt? You're wrapped up in trying to please others rather than not just pleasing yourself, but actually having a stance of what you want. That's like even having an opinion about what I want to say. If I'm the generator of that, is difficult for me and makes me have some feelings, as opposed to on Temptation Island, again, I'm being asked to serve something. And then when I'm in it, there are people sitting across from me, people who have a heart and soul and thought.
Do they? Or are they just there for tape?
You know what? Your cynicism is refreshing.
I've done my share of dating shows. And
you've also done your share of dating.
Yes. 90% of the people on these shows are doing because they want to be on TV.
But I'm not.
And they're portraying parts.
But see.
So are their emotions genuine or not? I would say generally no.
Okay. But I'm going to tell you unequivocally, that's where your intellectual part is not allowing your empathic part to explore what really matters here. And that's what I'm saying here. Let me answer your question. When I'm sitting across from these people on the bonfire, regardless of what brought them to that place, which is clout, and I say that to them, and we've talked about this, what happens in the conversation, even if they're acting at first, becomes real. And the point I'm getting at is when I'm called to be of service for other people, when you're called to be of service for other people, the best version of you shows up. So it's easy for me to become really engaged and interested and come up with great stuff because in the moment I am making the choice to really care about those people you so quickly dismissed.
A servant leader.
Yes, but you dismissed all of them in one fell swoop.
I'm going to dismiss 90% of them.
Of the world?
In specifics,
no.
the people on Temptation Island.
No, I will not allow that to happen because...
I'm not saying they're not feeling what you're saying they're feeling. I'm saying they're feeling those things because they have been placed in a improbable manufactured crucible where to generate those feelings.
By the way, improbable manufactured crucible
was my first studio album.
It's really good.
Sold 400,000 copies.
You used the sitar, I think, on that one.
No one had used the sitar
before
except for
George Harrison.
No,
yeah.
That was the second, really.
Really innovative. I get your point, and it's quite cynical, and I don't agree with some. That may be the way people come into this. The point I'm getting at is who we become with a purpose for someone else. Mm-hmm. So regardless of what brought them there, whatever management of the situation contestants or participants on my particular show are there for, what happens becomes real and raw. And I make the choice to say it is real and talk about what's real behind it, which I know for a fact is real. I know for a fact that those conversations are real. And that, having those conversations, coming up with stuff to say, driving that bus is very comfortable for me because I'm serving them and I'm serving the show. It's not my choice. They've asked me to do it and I'm happy to serve. When you come here, I start getting a little in the head about what's expected and what should I say and then there's this whole other part, like I really like to invite this person to be a guest on my show, but then, they're going to think, they don't want to come on my show. This self-doubt. I'm talking about self-doubt, something you rarely have. Or if you do, you intellectualize past it.
See, now here is why I am the ideal sidekick for Mark Wahlberg. He couldn't even articulate all those feelings at the beginning of the show. He was fumbling around. But by posing opposition to you and pushing back a little bit, you were able to reach deep down.
Yes.
And spew out all that stuff.
And by deflecting your own emotion, you were able to help me. So thank you.
Mark, I don't deflect emotions.
Then you are then you are devoid of emotion. And I know that's not true. And by the way, so that you know this, that this that you're witnessing is not really it. The truth is the softest, most caring, teddy bear emotional guy here might be you.
I have a nougat center.
You are a nougat center. You really are. Mm-hmm. You're like a Rolo. That's been left out. Like the outside's
I would go farther. I would say Three Musketeers. All nougat.
All nougat.
Rolo's got that hard caramel center that you pop a filling on.
Yeah.
No one gets messed up with nougat.
Yeah. Nobody's hurt themselves on a Milky Way.
No. And of the three, I think Three Musketeers is the worst. Because you have just nougat, then Milky Way's got nougat and caramel, and then the Snickers, obviously, is the...
Because of the nuts.
Yeah.
Anything you can do to deflect talking about how you feel about things.
Well, ask me. I'm telling you how I feel about it. I told you.
Have you ever had a self-doubt in your life as it comes to performing or work?
Oh, sure, all the time.
Do you ever cry in the dark by yourself?
I don't. No.
See, there's a big difference.
The last time I was nervous in show business was back when I was in college. I got to...
And you call that show business?
Yeah. Well, no. I went to the Tonight Show when Jimmy Stewart was on. And I had to do a Jimmy Stewart impression in front of Johnny Carson and Jimmy Stewart. And they were sitting as close to me as you are. And they had me behind the curtain, Johnny's curtain. And they said, all right, when you hear your name, you come out and you stand on the star. And there was a...
I know the star.
Right?
That's the star.
Johnny Carson star.
Yeah, I know. By the way, Johnny Carson was a host of a show like Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Stewart was an actor sort of like Bradley Cooper, and they were really
Tom
big
Hanks.
deal.
I would offer Tom Hanks.
But Tom Hanks also is not like Timothy Chalamet, maybe?
Oh, come on.
Well, we're going to get into Gen Z talk in a moment.
Okay. Yeah, and I remember standing behind those multicolored curtains and... like being nervous.
Right.
And then I did this little thing I learned in high school where you press your two arms this way and take a big deep breath, and that calms you down. And I heard my name, and I walked down the star, and I did my Jimmy Stewart impression, and Jimmy.
And for those of you who don't know, that's actually a very good Jimmy Stewart impression. You have to look up Jimmy Stewart.
But I mean, if we're in this business, I mean, what they pay us for is when the red light goes on, you're able to be your best self. A lot of people I have a lot of funny friends that are hilarious in the bar, but you put them on stage and they're horrible.
That's true. As a matter of fact, when I was a warm-up guy and stand-ups would come up to me and say, can you get me a job as a warm-up? And I throw them out there as a warm-up guy and they die in 5 minutes.
Right, because they're doing material.
But what I'm more interested in is the best version of myself when the red light's not on. And that's...
But the red light's on right now.
But this all right.
It's a yellow light. Let's just segue into... Podcasts are yellow lights. They're supposed to be more real than red lights.
That feels like caution to me.
Let's
talk about something. Let's segue, because that's what hosts do. Mm-hmm. You just made some references that are right in the heart of Boomerville.
Yeah.
Okay? Like literally,
although
you're the mayor.
Boomer. I think I'm post-boomer.
No, you're technically not.
Yeah, I am.
The math, you can identify as a millennial if you'd like.
I do.
Or Gen Xer. You would be a Gen Xer.
I identify as a Yeah, Gen Xer.
Do you?
I guess. I don't even know what they are.
Okay. So I think boomers start the last year, the youngest boomer is like born in 62. 63, 62, 61.
Well, and in theory, boomers are the babies of the World War II generation, right?
Yes.
So
from
World
the baby
War II
boom. That's why they're
right.
called
Well,
boomers.
that ended in 45. The guys came back. They started knocking it out. So, from 47 to 57 is when they were.
Yeah, I don't care. Thanks. My point is.
Well, we did beat the Nazis, asshole.
We didn't. Our parents did.
The greatest generation.
We didn't do shit.
True.
We came back and you know what we did?
We smoked pot and burned our bras.
We burned our bras. We created suburbs, and we basically ruined shit for Gen Z. In many cases,
and they'll be the first ones to tell you that.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Go ahead, bring it.
Because recently there was a thing, and there were a couple things. One of them was that Jodie Foster made a comment that everybody got twisted about. That she thinks that Gen Zers are difficult to work with.
And who got twisted about it? All the Gen Zers that live on the internet who live to create controversy. And why do they create controversy? Not because they're really upset about something, because it gets them followers.
Yeah, okay. So I like Gen Z.
Okay.
And
I like pizza.
I think we can all agree on that.
Can't we, though?
But Gen Z has even elevated that. Mm-hmm. Because in the internet world, I have a YouTube and TikTok Barstool Sports dude who gives me the best pizza. And I love that because they invented this short memory format, short format of content. But I'm getting sidetracked. Here's the thing that I like about Gen Z. And you can tell me the things you don't like. And I can tell you some things I don't like.
It'll be like a ping pong game.
Yes, kind of. I like that Gen Z only cares about don't bullshit me. For instance, our generation grew up in business. If you need insurance, you need an insurance broker. If you need to buy a house, you need a real estate broker. You need to go buy a car, you need to go to a car dealership. We need a middleman because we don't know.
I wouldn't agree with you.
Well, it's true. Until recently, you could go to CarMax and buy a car. You could buy your insurance on Lemonade on an app. I feel like
that's just substituting a technological thing for a human being that's making the profit.
No,
all these
that's
middlemen
not
are making,
true. No, that's not.
You don't think CarMax makes a profit?
It's not about profit, Mark. This is. By the way, in this episode, you're going to see two people who are almost exactly the same age. One leaning in and embracing as the cheese moves and life evolves, and the other holding on to a time that never was, where Jimmy Stewart mattered.
The cheese is moving?
That's a book.
Okay.
You haven't seen it? Who Moved My Cheese?
No.
It's a classic.
I'm reading The 12th Planet by Zachariah Sitchin.
Great. Maybe there's room for you there.
All are welcome, children. All are welcome
to the planet of eternal cynicism, where we feel nothing. We feel it when we don't say it.
Right.
The point I'm getting at is this generation, having learned from us and our parents, have said we're not down with the bullshit. Now, there's a lot of bullshit in Gen Z, but there's some things I truly want you to consider this. There's some things that I really think are amazing. Things that we were, when growing up, was an issue of, oh my God, even when you had your dating show, we had a Latina girl with a black guy and no one would air the show. They were dating and no one would air the show.
Because it muddies the races, Mark.
That was the take.
There's a person running for president right now who
says the exact same thing. But what I'm getting at is that this generation, while there are some things like, filters and Botox and all that bullshit, the thing that I like about Gen Z is they're really just feeling out. It's a very emotionally intelligent or searching for emotionally intelligent generation. They want things to feel right. And that's not always great when it comes to politics. Not necessarily. And it's born out of something. If you're not sensitive to what it's born out of.
No, I'm sensitive to what it's born out of.
Yeah,
but, at some point, the concept of suck it up doesn't seem to exist with Gen Z.
I don't agree with that at all, and I'll explain. First of all, what it appears to me, their only filter of whether they approve or disapprove of someone or something is, are you full of shit or not? Okay, not age, not color, not gender, not sexuality. I don't think so. And
I would agree with you everything except about age. They're very ageist.
I don't agree, and I'll explain it to you. I was on Cody Ko's podcast with Kelsey Kreppel.
Right.
Cody Ko, Kelsey Kreppel. I'm just dropping some names. I know people. Anyway, so I did a Zoom with them, not knowing who they were, talking about Moment of Truth, because they were doing a couples react to Moment of Truth, and I went on and I did it. Now I'm older than their parents, or at least their parents' age, and I went on and I was just doing this with them, answering questions, having a good time. Their audience, which are 15 to 20-year-olds, they're a young audience. When you say, Caitlin, a pretty young.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, really young. Overwhelmingly, loved me up. And it dawned on me in that moment that they don't really give a shit about how old I am, as long as what I'm saying and who I'm being is non-judgmental, open, and honest. And I hate to use this word because it's way overused, but authentic. Has a ring of no bullshit. Let's just say that. And that is I think I'm proposing that is the only litmus test for that generation that matters. That your cynicism that you had earlier and permeates out of every
pore of my body,
perfectly, Italian skin, perfect.
My olive oil
pore
charm.
Yeah, olive oil charm. Their cynicism comes from the hustle. Are you hustling me or not?
Meanwhile, they're all hustling.
They're not hustling.
Internet.
They're not hustling.
They're all running a hustle. We're generalizing about everybody.
By the way, that's another example of it. In our generation, to be in show business, to have a platform to speak was exclusive, and you don't have access. There are 3 networks and then later cable, and that's the only way you can do it.
And you needed talent. You needed to be qualified in some way to have a platform. Now you don't.
But that's what
this show is proof of that.
Yes, thank you. And you're on it. You're not even the permanent sidekick. So let's just get there. I called you last night.
Nice
you're
guy.
here.
Yeah.
But I think you're making my point for me, and I don't agree. I think things have changed in definition. So it used to be famous, you had to have talent. And I'll even go further, that being famous in the past generation was to be a mystery as far as who you actually were, and who you are perceived to be is why you're famous. And every now and then People Magazine or some TV show is going to do a behind the scenes of what it's like at Clark Gable's home, or something like that. So while I get what you're saying, that your generation says they got to have talent. We used to have talent. The definition of what is entertaining has changed. By the way, that's what you sound like.
It doesn't?
In my day, you're always smoking a non-cigarette. The kids today, they don't know from talent. Can you do a soft shoe? I don't think so.
Says the man that can dance on this table right now.
I could do all of those things.
Yeah, you could.
Have you ever seen a Friars Club roast? I don't think so. What I'm saying is the definition of what audiences want has changed, and it speaks to that emotional intelligence thing that you shut down before I could say it, which is there's a craving for give me the real you. So what is celebrity now?
But let me stop you. Yes, there is a craving for what's the real you. And I would propose that the people that are doing podcasts and that are Instagrammers and influencers are not presenting the real them. They're presenting an idealized version of what they think brands want to pay for.
I think that's true to some degree, but I'm talking in a generalization about the shift.
Mark, one of the biggest influencers on Instagram.
You're not making a case for a good sidekick right now.
He's a synthetic woman. A completely invented woman.
Who?
Lil Michaela. There's several that have millions of followers that are cartoons. And people follow them because they're hot and they wear bikinis. How is that authentic?
Okay. But I think you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater here.
They're not even real babies.
And their bathwater's infused with herbs.
It's so good for the skin.
Going to give you a rash.
It's excellent for the skin.
Certainly, there's all the things you're talking about. But what I do like is that there are people I watch on TikTok, people on Instagram, people on YouTube who are sharing not just their music or their art, but how they're feeling, what they've gone through, their trauma, their syndromes, their diseases. And what I'm getting at is what makes celebrity is not what you know how to do, but who you are. And if the imperfect, hold on, because this is I know this makes you uncomfortable and you don't know how to talk about things that make you uncomfortable.
It doesn't make me uncomfortable. I'm agreeing with you.
Wait, let me finish the point.
Who the fuck cares who they are?
I do. And they do, and you do, because what you're missing is while there are the peripheral, booby girls and that
is that an actual thing? That totally should be a thing.
Booby girls and penis men all over the place. There's another conversation. But what there
Wouldn't you love to scroll through
what there are people that put something out there. First of all, that speaks to my middleman concept, that they have invented media where you have access. All of us have access. Whether it hits or not is another story. Hold on. Whether we're hungry hold on. But what we're watching is what you can do if you're a good singer or songwriter. But who are you? Let us know who you really are. And that's the person that I can embrace as a friend. That's who I follow. That's who I subscribe to. And even more importantly, the collaborative aspect of it. Back in the day, if you did Carson, you couldn't do Letterman. If you did Leno, you couldn't do this one. No one played the same. In this world, it is collaborative. Guests work for free.
But do you know why it's collaborative?
Like you,
it's
right
because
now.
People want to come on the other podcast to steal their viewers.
Not to steal, to share. In a community of people talking about real shit and silly shit.
You know what? I agree with everything you're saying. I think the motives are far more. Listen, the reason social media is so popular and invasive.
You're going to make a case for that. Their motives are
narcissism
and
no. It's
nefarious. When you're looking at how many major Rock Hudson and others had to pretend to be something they weren't, so that they could have the revenue stream.
What I'm saying is the ultimate reason that these people, that social media, Facebook and TikTok and all these things are so pervasive and have really dug into people is because it plays to narcissism. Anyone can be famous. Anyone can be a star, and people crave that notoriety. For what?
You're talking about your...
That's why it works, Mark. That's why it works. That's the only reason it works.
No, Mark, I don't...
Yes, how many... There's kids in grade school who are sweating over how many followers they have.
Okay. That's a different conversation.
But it's the same thing.
Mark, you're going to have to let me make a point here.
No.
Is this how you talk to Yenny about travel plans?
I can't talk to Yenny about anything. I only can come here to talk.
Okay. So there we go. You want to cuddle? I got you, buddy. I got you. While all that you say is true to some degree, you're missing what I think is valuable. And by the way, this is what I'm really talking about is things just are, and your relationship to them is where the value is. So you can be like my friend Mark DeCarlo and be a little cynical about times gone by, or you can lean into what is without it having a meaning and take what's good in it. And here's what I find to be good. I find, while it's clout or whatever, I find someone sharing their story about Tourette's, I think that's got some power in it. I think Elise Myers, who is a really talented singer and a really funny person, but is sharing her anxiety and motherhood and embarrassing moments from her life. Yeah, that's her bit, but I can relate to it, and it makes me feel seen by her.
Okay, but my point is she's sharing all that to increase her clout.
To express in a medium that could pay her.
Full stop. That's it.
And what's wrong with that?
Whether she's on a podcast or not, she's still going to have all those anxieties. And what she's doing is she's taking the way she is.
So, but are you saying...
I'm not saying I'm just saying that's what it is. I'm not saying it's bad or good. You're monetizing yourself.
But Mark,
which feeds narcissism.
Which is more narcissistic? Which, Mark, is more narcissistic?
I heard the question.
I'm doing this for punctuation. Is it more narcissistic to throw things out on social media about your life in hopes that people find you and it becomes clout? Because most people don't have any. Mm-hmm. They're doing the exact same thing with no listeners, as opposed to...
You've got 2.
Thank you. As opposed to people who have millions and are making money, but nonetheless, it's the same thing. Or is it more self-serving to keep it only exclusive that if I can get an audition because of nepotism or something else, I can get an audition to play the role of something else and then create a whole persona as an actor or celebrity, and that's how I get paid, and it's a lie, which we grew up with.
Well, all acting is a lie.
It's not the point.
It's telling.
That's a false equivalency. You're talking about the craft of acting. Yes, all acting is a lie. So is poker. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the clout you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The clout of an actor, the clout of show business.
Money.
Right. The money of show business formerly could be an entire lie. And here, what people want.
And I'm saying that a large percentage of all the stuff on social media is a lie for money.
I think the definition of what we call famous has changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
1,000%.
And I like it. And I'm going to say the difference. The difference is it used to be what you can do to entertain me.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hide all of your nefarious life behind you.
Right.
And what is famous now is who are you?
Who you present yourself to be. I'm saying they're not the same. They're not the same.
I understand. But Mark, the transparency now is far greater than the transparency then. It's the same thing. When you were a star in the 40s, if you were a star in the 40s, you presented whatever the fuck you wanted to present, and no one knew. Okay? Right. Now you can present whatever you want, and somebody else has the ability to call you out and saying that's not being real. And if you're not real, what I'm getting at is...
And the person that's doing the calling out is doing it to raise their own followers.
You're so cynical.
But it's true.
But it's not. It's not. Do you know how much love I get of people saying, thank you for sharing what's going on with you and for real?
I know exactly how much love you get.
2. I think there's shades of gray, which is a color you don't have in any of your spectrum because it's black and white only. But there's shades of gray. But the takeaway that I think is powerful is there is a conversation going, and the value system has changed. The value is not be famous and hide your soul. It's let your soul be why you're famous, or let your... And if you are fronting, it's a phrase that kids use, someone calls you out, and they can. As opposed to with your press agent keeping you...
I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. What I'm saying is the motivation behind most of it, I'm calling you out so that I get noticed and I get more followers.
I don't agree.
Well...
Because certainly the troll culture is that.
Okay.
But Mark, that's a small part of the conversation. Obviously,
anytime anybody says anything even mildly controversial, there's a pile on, whether it's deserved or not.
Okay.
And I'm going to say most of the piler honors are doing it. Look at me. Listen to my take.
Okay, but what we're talking about is a generational thing, and you're going to have to hear this.
I agree with you on the generational thing.
First of all, fix your shirt. I don't need to see all that.
I agree with you on the general.
Mark, hold on. I'm making a point.
Mark, what did you say?
I don't know.
Generational.
Look at me. Sleep. Okay. What I'm saying is, if you really want to talk about yelling for clout, look at our generation of the Karen world and the politics world and the non-research world and shouting from the pulpit. What I'm saying,
that's bad too.
Of course, but it's not generation specific. What is generation specific is that this generation invented a way for us to broadcast whatever, good or bad or indifferent, without the man telling us what to do and the press agent managing what you see. Let me finish the point. And there's a conversation that happens in real time where anyone's voice is as important as someone else's, and then clout follows.
I agree with everything you say, but you know what? Everyone's voice isn't as important as somebody else.
Why?
Because what if you're an idiot? What if you're a troll? What if you're an asshole? What if you're a racist? Then your voice should be marginalized.
But it gets marginalized by how we then
react to it.
Or it's a conversation. And what Gen Z has taught me is that all voices can be heard, and we now have to rebel against the ones that are wrong, and we've got to embrace the ones that are, and we've got to accept the points of view that we don't agree with.
Yes, but that's always been the case.
No, it has not.
There's just more now.
That's such crock of shit, Mark.
It is not.
How has that always been the case? How has the common man had, if a politician comes out and says, we need to go to war for blah, blah, blah reason, how has the common man, other than their vote, been able to actually have a voice in this?
Martin Luther King walked across the Pettus Bridge.
Oh, okay. But
That's how. And there were 3 networks, and all 3 networks covered it at night. And people in their living room saw it and saw black people getting the shit kicked out of them by police. And eventually seeing that over and over again, the same way they saw the shit that was happening in Vietnam in their houses every fucking night, slowly turned the public's opinion against those things.
And where we are
now. What happens now is it happens in a second.
Oh, by the way, what is happening now is born out of that, because even that was managed. But that was the beginning. Hold on.
Yes.
That was the beginning of the go back further, or in the same time, the Nixon Watergate thing was the first time where we started to realize these people we thought were perfect aren't perfect.
Right.
What I'm talking about is Gen Z, this product we created, okay, we created. They have their faults. I hate vocal fry. I hate Botox. I hate the lip plumping thing, all that stuff.
But yours looks pretty good.
I mean, just in the T-zone, you can't really tell.
The T-zone.
You're a fucking asshole.
Well, at least you didn't get your teeth done.
Oh. But see, and by the way.
This is a bridge.
And your nose looks great.
It got broke.
You're going to do the deviated septum thing?
It did.
Okay.
I just had another operation last year.
I was there. You got a show and all of a sudden your nose got broke. You got a show where they gave you a review calling you boorish.
Boorish and homely.
Boorish and homely.
Tom Shales.
Next season you came and your nose was broken.
I was less boorish.
All right. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Had you said, look, I'm thinking about doing some stuff. What do you think? And people go, I appreciate it.
That that's not true. I couldn't breathe through the left side of my nose. And I had to have another operation last year because it was messed up again.
That's what happens when you start fucking around with stuff.
Yeah, right. No, it was, you know what it was? It was hockey. I got cracked a couple times and I literally couldn't breathe through the side of my nose. All right,
let's go with the teeth thing for a moment. And this is a good example.
You look very handsome.
I love them. They're like...
I got my teeth. These are fake teeth too because I got my teeth knocked out.
Yeah, I didn't. I did actually get one knocked out on your show. Yeah, but I call these are the same as, I'm not going to say that because I'll get canceled. What I like is when I got my teeth done, because I have been self-conscious about my teeth my whole life.
Which was ridiculous. They were cute.
They weren't cute. They were yellow and crooked, and my jaw hurt.
Okay, there you go.
But that wasn't the reason. The reason was cosmetic. When I finally got enough money, I wanted clean, great white teeth. I didn't expect to look like Steve Harvey, but that's what happened. When I got called out on it on social media by these people that you so vehemently hate,
calling out to get followers for themselves,
I was able to say to them, look, I hear you. I know what they look like, but they make me feel good. Not unlike women who get breast augmentation that are obviously fake but make them feel good. That's what these are. I feel better, I smile more, and I'm happier because of them.
You know what women don't understand about breast augmentation?
Really?
I, for my own personal taste,
yes.
It's like grabbing 2 bowling balls.
Okay, you need to stop.
In my personal taste I would prefer a normal, a natural.
I didn't ask you.
Natural rack.
I didn't. Oh,
natural God. #natural rack.
Okay.
Mark Wahlberg podcast.
First of all,
see now someone's going to react to that
because
you're going to get an extra follower.
Because if you were to listen to Gen Z a little bit, you would start to hear things that shouldn't matter. Nor are you the person who gets to say them.
I'm saying just for me.
Yes, but in that saying it, there was so much objectifying, and nobody asked your fucking opinion. The woman who got
you brought it up.
No, I did not.
Who brought up the breast implants?
I said breast augmentation. You said bowling ball rack.
For 50. Yes. Well, I'm just giving you you mentioned it. Right. That's my take on it.
Listen, I know you've got to go play hockey.
What time is it?
It's getting close to hockey time.
Oh, it is.
So that you can pretend to get a tooth knocked out so you can get some more
Let's talk
cosmetic surgery
rejuvenation.
Done. Pardon me?
Nothing.
You say vaginal rejuvenation? I've had mine
Something
redone
I know
recently.
about.
Suffice it to say that we disagree.
Which is why I'm an excellent sidekick.
But I want to.
But here let me finish.
I'm trying. This was me trying to wrap it up.
What I do love about Gen Z is they are a far more compassionate, accepting, lovable generation.
That's exactly my fucking point, Mark. My whole fucking point.
I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is
they're teaching us that vulnerability, what you say matters, that we care about other people matters. Don't bullshit me. Don't do like the old days.
That's what I've been saying this whole show.
I don't think that's what you're saying. I think you're saying that they're the generation that isn't that. And I'm saying
the people that are on social media professing those things are the least authentic part of the group.
I don't agree.
But I've worked with Gen Zers, and they're more considerate and empathic, and they consider other people's feelings. It's like, you know what? I'm paying you to be here to work. Just work. That's
when
not
you
how
say
they
you've
think.
worked with Gen Zers, are they the ones who are actually feeding you when you're unable to eat?
They cut my food for me.
Yes, I understand.
Into small bites so that I can digest it.
Okay. What I'd like to say to wrap this up is some of the opinions shared on today's podcast are not shared by the hosts. And I hear your point, and we're never going to finish this in one day. I do think there's a bunch of bullshit in the,
That's all I'm saying.
Social media world. That's not all you're saying.
That's all I'm saying.
That's not all you're saying. But what matters to me is that I have found that there is an entire generation that I actually sleep better at night knowing that you're there, who are interested in emotional intelligence. Your language, your slang even says that. You don't say, I like your outfit. You're saying it's giving. What does it feel like to me? What's the feeling you're giving me? You're connecting with each other emotionally. And certainly one could argue that we're all oversharing, but I actually like the fact that Gen Z is saying, wait, why do I have to have, an uncle broker my stocks? Why do I have to have somebody else tell me what car to buy and you go to the room? Why can't you just tell me what it fucking costs and let me buy it? Why must I hate these people and like these people? Why can't all of that just be a conversation? Why do I have to hide the fact that I have, some syndrome or issue or emotion or that I'm... Thank you that we get to say we're in therapy. Because not long ago, if you said you're in therapy, you could lose your job. And these are the things that I'm talking about. These are the things that actually matter, Mark, as opposed to the clout chasing. Everybody's been chasing clout since day one. The truth is, how many people got on their Greyhound bus from Peoria to come to Hollywood to chase clout, but there was no access to the clout. And now, if you are somebody that can
earn the access.
Why must it be earning?
Because
what is it?
Because I'm buying a ticket to watch you.
Well, why? Other than the 3 regional Emmys, what is there to earn?
If I'm going to pay money for you to entertain me, be good.
But no one's asking you to pay money unless you want to. That's the other thing you invented. Thank you, Gen Z. You're not paying money to me. I'm sharing. If you like it, share more. And if you share enough, people pay because they want to hear more. That's actually the way it should work. That's the way it should work. Everybody gets to have a voice, whether it's heard or not, has to do with whether, in fact, you are actually a celebrity. And we used to say the things you did on screen made you famous. Now it's who you are makes you famous, and what you share about your personal life, the part your press agent would have told you not to share, is what makes you famous. So I personally thank you for opening up. There's nothing you need to hide. Whatever you're dealing with, you're allowed to say. And if you say something that pisses people off, other people correct you. Now, on different episodes.
For selfish purposes.
We'll talk, not always selfish purposes.
Not always.
Sometimes
often.
Misguided, sometimes rash. That is another issue, is that we don't investigate before prosecution.
Making a judgment, right?
Making a judgment. That's another episode about the cancel culture and things like that. But I'll take those rash decisions over. I'll take those if I get to have a platform for everyone to reach out and be whatever you want. There are so many things that I enjoy now that weren't available to me before that are products of Gen Z saying, Why must it be that always?
And, of course, you're talking about gluten-free pizza.
Gluten-free pizza, cauliflower buffalo wings. Although I draw the line at when you call, like, veggie patties a veggie burger.
They're not.
It's not a burger. It's a cylindrical shape of vegetables and seeds. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not a burger. So let's end with that. Hey, thank you guys. So we're going to be every Wednesday. Thanks, Mark.
I'll be here every Wednesday. And I will point out that this impassioned closing monologue was spurred by me.
Yes.
Without me, you're just a crazy man with his pants off.
I don't want to like you to this, but so much of World War II was spurred by Hitler. So thank you for being just an asshole for me to wage against. So the number of things...
Mark Wahlberg loves Hitler. Can you believe it?
Oh, my God. The number of things that I will ask Kaylin to edit out of this episode.
He was a great painter.
Don't. Stop.
Do a whole apartment. 2 goats.
2 goats. One day. Oh, no. So every Wednesday I'm going to try to bring you something. Know that I'm fighting through my own self-doubt and self-editing to do this at all. I, in this moment, regret having taken this journey at all. But I thank you and I appreciate you guys hanging out. And our email is bonfiretalkspodcast@gmail.com.
Right.
So if you've got questions, I'd like to hear those, because the other thing I'm going to start doing is more on the line of the Bonfire Talks from Temptation Island, where we can talk about relationship. And if you want to hear what I have to say about it, I will tell you or ask you. I tried to ask Mark, how do you deal with self-doubt? How do you deal with that?
I told you how I deal with it.
You just don't think about it and
go
play
hockey.
No,
but I mean, you know what?
Okay. We'll talk about it more. What can you do? I love you guys. Thank you. And you can share anything you want on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And you know what's funny about that? He will too. He'll be sharing all of his shit too. But he'll blame you. I don't blame you. I love you. See you next time.
Drink the Kool-Aid, people.
I like Kool-Aid.
Drink the Wahlberg
Kool-Aid is delicious.